Hey everyone, welcome to Gen 3D Tech. Today we have a very special review for you. We're taking a look at the updated IKEA pad, also known as the LÅNESPELARE. This is a follow-up to the massively successful original IKEA pad that I reviewed earlier last year. And it was one of my more popular reviews. And I bought that pad for only $7, was later raised to $9.99, which is also the price of this pad, $9.99. And as you can see, this one has a design on it. So anyways, when I found out that there was an updated pad being sold at IKEA, I rushed up to my local IKEA store and grabbed one right away. And I've been testing it for over a week, and I'm ready to give you my thoughts on it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So like I said in the intro, this is an updated version of the original IKEA pad. This pad, unlike the IKEA pad, which is a black square, actually has a design. It's the same price at $9.99 as the original pad, even though the original pad that I bought, I actually got it for $7, and then they decided to raise it to $9.99. But at that price, it's still a steal, or still was a steal for the original pen. And this one, they didn't raise the price and they added a design. Now, unfortunately, the surface has a heat transferred design on top of it, on top of the pad. And we were hoping that that wouldn't be the case when we physically got a hold of this pad. But unfortunately, that is the case. And I believe over time that will wear down. Now, it could last 6 months. It could last a year. I don't know. I've only had it for a week. But at $10, I'm not that concerned if it only lasts, that amount of time. I think you get your money's worth. And at $10, you could buy like 2 or 3 of them for the price of most just, mid-range pads. I've got quite a few pads that are $60 or more. So at $10, it's still a tremendous value, I think. Now, the one thing about this pad compared to the original IKEA pad is the original IKEA pad was quite a bit slower than this. It was very much more like a control pad, like a QCK or a GSR pad. And this pad is quite a bit faster. Now, I wouldn't say this is like a super fast pad, but it's kind of a low, on the low end of a speed pad or more of a balanced pad. It's definitely quicker because of the coating. Now, if that coating wears down, it may develop slow spots, I suppose. Again, I won't know until I've used this pad quite a bit more. Or I find out from other people who buy that, and then, we'll find out eventually. But you just keep in mind that is a potential that you'll wear down the coating. Now, you may be able to take the coating off yourself. I don't have the patience to do that, but there may be a way to do that. And the characteristics of the pad with the coating off, I have no idea. I imagine it's going to be pretty much just a regular IKEA pad because the foam looks very similar. The other thing that changed is the base. I actually really like the way the base looks. It does not move whatsoever. But I don't remember the original one moving either. Speaking of the original pad, this is the original IKEA pad. As you can see, it's the same size as the original IKEA pad, which is roughly 14 inches by 17 inches. The description on the webpage was surprisingly in inches and not millimeters. But as you can see, thickness wise, it's pretty much the same. As you can see, the base is quite a bit different. This has more of a standard base feel to it, and this base is very soft and not very coarse. But surprisingly, this does not move at all. But neither does this one. As you can see, that doesn't move. And that doesn't move. Now the original IKEA pad has kind of a fuzzy feel to it. It is smooth fuzzy, but it's definitely, as you can see, I've had some people say this is a fast pad, but for me it is not fast. I don't know if there's like, sometimes there's variations in the material, and you can get one pad and that's slightly different than the other. But this is definitely, to me, not a very fast pad. It's more of a control pad for sure. And this just feels so much smoother and quicker. It still has a bit of control in it. It's much faster. So kind of what they've given you. Now, when I picked this up, they still had the original IKEA pad there, same price. So one thing that you can do is you can purchase both pads, and then you have two pads that fit just about any type of gaming situation. You can use the original pad for tack shooters, and then for games that you need fast movements and good tracking, like Apex Legends and Overwatch, then this might be a better choice. For me, it's definitely, I perform better in Overwatch, which is the game that I mostly play on the new IKEA pad, as opposed to the old one, which works really good for games like Valorant. Now we'll go ahead and test the humidity resistance. The original pad definitely soaks in the water, but because of the heat transferred surface, it does a pretty good job of keeping the water out. It does soak it in, but it's a very slow process. And with PTFE feed, it doesn't really affect the speed of the mouse on the surface. We're in the wet spots, but of course and surprisingly, glass feet doesn't seem to be affected at all on this pad with a little bit of water. Initially, I didn't think that this pad was coated necessarily, because when I started comparing it to all the other pads that I have, I found that this pad feels and looks very similar to the PureTrack CL1 pad, which is this pad right here. And this pad is an uncoated pad. But the closer I looked at this pad and also conversed with a couple other people who had it, we definitely determined that this does have a coating on it. So sad, because it does have the same characteristics of the CL1, which is a really great pad. I rate this pad as about a 6.5 on the speed scale, and you know, a 10 would be like a glass pad or a very fast Cordura pad. And honestly, the IKEA pad feels very, very similar. Like, I have a hard time telling the difference between the two pads. Now as you can see, the CL1 is definitely a bigger pad, but it is a little bit more expensive, but not by much. I think it's right around $20 on sale. And as you can see, the CL1 is a bit thicker also. It has a standard base. The advantage of the IKEA pad is if you have an IKEA near you, you can go pick it up, and it's right there, and it's $10, like I said. And you could take a 20, grab the pad, and have some meatballs while you're there. Now, if you don't have an IKEA near you, you can get it shipped. However, I have found that IKEA shipping can be kind of expensive, and it's not the quickest. So initially, when I bought the very first IKEA pad, I only paid $7 for the pad, but it was like $10 shipping, and it took took like 5 days to get to me, even though it was like 40 miles away. So when this one came out, I just drove 40 miles and picked it up instead of messing with the shipping. Now, if this pad was a $30 pad or a $20 pad, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but at $10, I can wholeheartedly recommend it. I would have preferred that this wasn't a coated pad for sure. If it had all these characteristics, like the CL1 with the design, I actually really like the design. I think it looks really nice, actually. If I had all of that non-coated for $10, I would give this glowing recommendations. But as it stands, you know, I'm a little worried being coated. But as long as you're aware of that and that it's probably going to wear a little bit faster than an uncoated pad. But at $10, if you have an IKEA near you, then I think it's worthwhile. If you've got to order it, you know, check the shipping. Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. If you want similar characteristics, then I would definitely just get the PureTrack CL1 pad, which is a really good pad, been around for a long time, but it's still a really good pad. And there are a bunch of different designs for that pad also, whereas this only has one. So again, this is a really good deal if you have an IKEA near you. If you don't, it might be a pass. And also, if you want a slower pad, go ahead and get the original IKEA pad. I don't know if they're going to keep making it. I hope that they do, because I think it's really cool having both options available. And I could definitely say that my IKEA had both. It had about 15 of these pads, and it still had about 10 of the original ones. Also, you can get this in desk size, and I think it was like $17. I'd have to look it up. I'm not a big fan of desk pads, but this would make a really nice desk pad for sure. And at that price, that's a steal, because desk pads typically cost a lot more. They can cost you anywhere from $20 to $60 or even more. When the original IKEA pad came out, there was also a desk pad, and it had like this cityscape on it. Now, I didn't buy that pad, but I felt that pad, and I think it felt a little bit different than this. But that was definitely a coated surface, which was another reason why I didn't bother getting it. But since this was so cheap and a smaller pad, that's the other thing, the size. Some people aren't going to like the smaller size of this pad, but I do think that this pad will work for most people. So in conclusion, it's not all I had hoped it would be, but I'm not terribly disappointed in it, especially at the price. If they had raised the price, then I would definitely been pretty upset, and I wouldn't have recommended it. Now, IKEA, if you do happen to watch this video, I would definitely like to see the next one, if you do another pad, to improve it a little bit, maybe increase the size just a hair. And it would be cool to see maybe some stitching, and maybe a few more options for the design. But for sure, if we can get one with the design without the coating and also a little bit faster, like this pad, as opposed to the original IKEA pad, that would be very cool. Even though Cordura pads are not that popular, maybe having just a Cordura option would also be an interesting third pad or something. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Hopefully you found it enjoyable and informative. If you did, please leave a like. And if you haven't subbed, a sub would be appreciated. If not, no big deal. And thanks for coming by. And I got lots more to come. And I'll see you on the next one. Later.